Since the turn of the century, man and machine have met the challenge of the sky, flying progressively faster, higher, and farther. Circling the Earth and spanning its oceans. This continuing progress in flight has been made possible by the responsibility, direction, and purpose of the dedicated men who fly. And to the efforts of the countless others who had to remain on the ground, but with their hearts in the sky. To become part of this modern jet air age takes more than just the desire to fly. It takes education, training, and experience. It takes individual courage and the confidence that comes with being a member of a highly skilled, professional air team. A team prepared to control the skies, capable and ready to meet any adversary, on any terms, and win. This is the story of the aviator in this jet attack aircraft, and how he became a highly skilled Marine Corps jet pilot. Meet William T. Smith, Second Lieutenant, United States Marine Corps Reserve. He's just completed his initial Marine flight training and is a qualified jet pilot. He is reporting aboard the Marine Corps Air Station at Cherry Point, North Carolina, to become the newest member of a modern Marine jet air complex. From the beginning, Marine officers set the example for others to follow. This is one of the reasons why he chose the Marines, to share in this proud tradition. Lieutenant Smith chose marine aviation because he wanted to fly with the best, perhaps in one of these giant transports, the largest aircraft in the Marine Corps, an aerial refueling station and troop carrier. Or this mighty Crusader, a supersonic, high-performance fighter. Perhaps to fly this Phantom II, a high-altitude, ultra-modern interceptor, a missile with wings. Or the sleek Skyhawk, smaller in size, but packing a powerful punch for the air support role. Lieutenant Smith will soon become an important part of the Marine Corps air-ground team. The first step in becoming a part of this flying team is to report in, turn in his pay and health records. Bachelor Officer Quarters will be his permanent residence for the next few months. Neat, comfortable, almost like home. In the officers' dining room, old friendships are renewed, and new friendships are quickly established. Naturally, the conversation immediately turns to flying, careers, and future plans. Newly assigned aviators are greeted by the squadron CO, a combat-seasoned veteran aviator who will follow every phase of their training and progress. The orientation begins with an explanation of the squadron mission. To hold that fine edge of combat readiness will require alertness and complete dedication to the job. Fellow pilots are on hand to welcome and to meet the new arrivals who are invited to attend their first regularly scheduled pilot's briefing. Beginning with the operations officer, each squadron staff officer will instruct the new pilots in air and ground training and squadron procedures. The aviation safety officer is responsible for the flying safety of each aviator and for briefing on emergency procedures. The intelligence officer brings the squadron staff and all pilots up to date on the current world situation. The aircraft maintenance officer is an expert in the repair, maintenance, and modification of all planes. His job, keep them flying. The flight line officer sees to it that all aircraft on the line are ready for launching at all times. The landing signal officer is always on hand to supervise field carrier landing practice and during actual carrier qualification landings. Before his first hop in a Marine Skyhawk, the new aviator must become familiar with every phase of local air control systems. A radar system upon which he will depend to guide him through many future flight missions. Since his main job will be close air support of Marine ground troops, he must learn the characteristics of all ordnance. He rechecks the flight equipment he will use when flying the Skyhawk. Each pilot's safety, and maybe his life, could depend upon any single item of survival equipment. Lieutenant Smith has ridden an ejection seat before, but now he must learn emergency ejection and bailout procedures specifically for the Skyhawk. In the low pressure chamber, aviators experience the results of reduced atmospheric pressure at 40,000 feet. Special training devices demonstrate the actual hydraulic, fuel, and lubrication systems of the Skyhawk. They show what the plane will do and how it does it. Then there's training in the surface control system. With these controls, he can simulate all normal flight conditions. A pilot can actually see what parts of his aircraft are responding and how. This modern electronic guidance system trainer will help Lieutenant Smith become proficient in guiding the bullpup missile. Pilots practice maintaining positive control of the missile right up to the moment it hits the target. Upon completion of his ground training, written examinations are given. Then reviewed and carefully checked by an experienced aviator. Errors, however slight, are immediately pointed out and thoroughly explained. Lieutenant Smith is now ready to take over the controls of a Skyhawk in flight. He is also ready to discuss the advantages of a regular commission in the Marine Corps. The folks back home will be anxious and happy to hear about his progress, and especially his decision to consider a regular commission. This will be good news to someone else, a special person who is not part of the family. Not yet. A thumbs up signals the start of his first in a series of familiarization flights, with an experienced chase pilot flying alongside. This is an exciting moment for Lieutenant Smith, now in command of a fast, sleek Marine Skyhawk. The enormity of pride in personal achievement is only surpassed by the faultless precision and coordination of this pilot and his plane. The first of many night hops in the Skyhawk is given at dusk to provide the gradual transition to complete darkness. Lieutenant Smith's confidence in his instruments and navigational aids reflect the results of training and practice. A vital part of Lieutenant Smith's training is the preparation for the air support role. Close air support is a powerful, accurate, devastating weapon system. Pilots can deliver tons of bombs at low altitude and with pinpoint accuracy. Lieutenant Smith zeroes in on a ground target. 20-millimeter cannon speaking with authority. Lethal ballistic rockets delivered right on the front porch of the troops on the ground. And mighty missiles with the ability to knock out tanks, artillery, or heavy fortifications. Actual training like this demonstrates the effectiveness of close air support and coordination, both on the ground and in the air, with complete confidence that when needed, they can make each shot count. Air-to-air refueling requires precision flying and can extend the effective range of the Skyhawk to distances practically unlimited. On long-distance hops and cross-country flights, Lieutenant Smith puts into practice his navigational training. He has computed his own flight plan, then has maintained it by varying his airspeed, altitude, and headings. The city below, a familiar sight, will be his first stopover. Lieutenant Smith never thought he would be landing a Marine Skyhawk in his own hometown. It is always exciting to return home, to be in familiar surroundings. A welcome break offering an opportunity for an evening out and a chance to discuss future plans. Lieutenant Smith puts wheels down for his first simulated aircraft carrier landing in his high-performance Skyhawk, using the mirror landing system. The orange meatball must remain in the center of the mirror, or the landing signal officer will signal a wave-off. Even under ideal conditions, carrier landings can be demanding, and every approach must be exact. Success comes with practice, and confidence comes from perfection. Afterwards, on the deck, a critique is held. The LSO and the pilot will review every approach in detail, when and why each correction was necessary. Lieutenant Smith is learning that perfection takes work. Aircraft carrier operations are the culmination of all the previous grueling hours of practice and study. The demanding training has paid off. Lieutenant Smith makes the approach for his first actual carrier landing. With a firm hand and steady nerves, he lands like a professional. Marine aviators taxi their jets into position for a catapult takeoff. They are ready and wait for the command that will send them screaming skyward. The flying leathernecks leave the carrier at sea, headed ashore to soften up the beaches for an amphibious training exercise. Marines in the air. Supporting Marines on the ground is an unbeatable team, geared for modern warfare. Forward air controllers can now direct the Skyhawks to inland targets. Another successful air support mission completed by professional aviators, doing the job they were trained for. Like Lieutenant Smith, college students across the nation are choosing marine aviation for a career with an exciting future. Dedicated young men who stand ready to be launched from bases and carriers around the world, accepting the challenge of the sky, fulfilling their desire to fly, with the knowledge that they are taking an active part in our nation's defense and future.